How's it going, everyone? Harrison Miranda here, co-founder of Adelphi Advisors. We've serviced over 30 clients thus far, optimizing agencies, coaches, and consultants' sales process. And in this video, I'm going to go over how we recovered 348 grand in ARR with prospects who were not initially going to close, so closed lost leads for Series A startup Leucine.io. So firstly, I'm going to give a little bit of background for the work that we did with Leucine and the kind of offer that they have and what they're selling. So Leucine is a Series A startup. They've raised 7 million capital so far. They're selling pharma tech to Fortune 500, right? So obviously very big contract sizes. Every lead is very, very important, right? So firstly, before they started working with us, Leucine struggled with turning dead or lost leads into revenue. Right? So prospects would have the initial demo, but if the lead did not initially close, there was a very low chance that they were actually going to close at some point, right? And this doesn't make sense, right? The issue with this and the issue that Leucine was having was, look, if we've spent several $1,000s on ad spend, we're calling these leads for 6 months to get them on a sales call, and they don't initially close, then all of that time is wasted, right? So what you need, no matter what you're selling, whether it's a digital marketing offer, whether it's a consulting offer, whether it's a coaching offer, if someone comes into your pipeline, they were interested at one point. If they're interested at one point, that means they have a pain point, they have a certain desire, they have a bottleneck in their business that they need solved. Okay, so if you're not taking full advantage of every single lead, even if they say no initially, they say, oh, let me circle back in 3 to 6 months, right? Let me talk to my boss, whatever it might be, that is still a lead. And you need to make sure that you're doing everything possible to, one, get feedback from these leads, to figure out why they aren't closing and what we can tweak in our business to make sure that the next time a lead like this comes into our pipeline, we're going to close them. You have to do that, but you also have to make sure that you're consistently following up with them and making sure that you're taking full advantage of every lead. So if they do eventually need an offer like yours is going to be at the top of mind and they will buy from you. So after implementing our post-call sales process, Leucine recovered over 348 grand in ARR that would not have initially closed. So for a SaaS startup, for an early stage SaaS startup, this was vital in increasing their enterprise value, being able to get them more funding. And on top of that, these were leads that weren't initially going to close, right? So we're not going to have to spend additional ad spend to get them. We're going to get very valuable feedback. So all of this was very, very huge for Leucine. So in this video, I want to go over the exact process that we implemented to achieve these results. It's a 3-step process. I'm going to give it to you right now. I best suggest that you implement this because it's going to make you more money. It's going to help you tweak your offer to make sure that you're speaking your prospect's language. And even if you're not closing all the leads that don't initially close, you're going to be able to tweak your offer, your guarantees, all these things to make sure that if another lead like them comes into the pipeline, you're going to close them. So let's get right into it. Firstly, consistently calling leads. So this is one of the main strategies that we implemented. Our team was consistently calling these leads, and it's very important for several reasons, right? So over 90% of prospects, no matter your offer, over 90%, I think it's closer to 95%, are not ready to buy in that very moment, right? But they will be eventually. So you need to keep your offer at the very top of mind, because even if they're not interested now, 6 months, 12 months down the line, they're a good majority of these people are going to need your offer, and you want that your offer to be at the very top of mind, right? And the only way that you can do this is by basically taking full advantage of every single way possible, every channel, SMS, calling, personalized sales assets, all these things, especially if you're selling a higher ticket offer like Leucine was. Their contract value was around 96 grand per year. And it was a yearly contract. It wasn't paid monthly. So this is big money we're talking about, right? Next, the market is always sophisticating. So you have to keep your ears to the ground, and that is vital in testing out new angles, right? If you spin up some offer and it's working, it's printing money, you're getting sales calls, there's a very good chance that 6 months down the line, those same ads that you're running, those same sales scripts, those same cold emails that were working in the beginning are not going to be working 6 months from now whatsoever, right? Every single competitor of yours, every single vendor in the market is always tweaking their offer, finding ways that they can get an edge over you and other competitors. And you have to be doing the same thing. And the only way, I promise you, the only way that you're going to be able to get real-time feedback with a tight feedback loop is by calling leads and figuring out what they're buying, what they aren't buying, what they're struggling with, what their desires are, all these things. Okay. Next, your offer occupies far, far less mental bandwidth than you think. Way less. So a lot of people think, oh, a prospect booked a sales call with me, right? They said they're interested. They're going to follow back. They're going to follow back up with us, right? They're probably going to forget about you tomorrow. No lie. Because think, if somebody books a call with you, And I talk about this a lot, but if somebody books a call with you, they are most likely scoping out other vendors, they're scoping out your competitors. So your offer does not occupy much bandwidth whatsoever in your prospect's mind. And the only way that you can make sure that your offer is going to occupy more and more mental bandwidth is by calling them, by talking to them, and keeping your offer at the very top of mind, right? Finally, for calling leads, it's not rocket science, right? The prospect already booked a sales call with you. They already saw something in your offer, in your business, in your solution that they like. But on top of that, they went out of their way to book a sales call with you and attend that sales call, right? Unless they're a competitor scoping out what you have and what your price is, so they can get an advantage over you, which most likely isn't the case for most of your leads. They showed an explicit amount of interest, an obvious amount of interest, which means that these prospects have a bottleneck in their business. They have something that they need solving, and they're willing to pay money to get that issue solved. So unless they've already gone with a different vendor, they're still in the market most likely, even if they don't know it, even if their awareness level isn't super high, right? So on top of this, you're going to be able to have so much ammo already, because on that sales call, the prospect already explained their current situation. The prospect already explained what they're struggling with. They already explained their desires, all these things, right? And you already know their objections. It's not like it's a shot in the dark where you're just going to have to guess and cold call them and figure out, like, hey, Mr. Prospect, I know I haven't spoken to you before, but what are you struggling with in your business? That's just not what it is. You've already spoken with them. You already know all these things, and you can use this and leverage it as ammo in the sales scripts, in the sales assets, and in the calls that you're making. Okay. It's very simple, but so many agencies and so many offers right now online do not realize just how much money they have in the CRM. Just go to the CRM, hit the phones for a little bit, and you're going to make money. You're going to have interested replies. And even if you don't have any of that, you're going to get feedback on why people aren't closing, and you're going to know what you can tweak. Okay. Next is personalized sales assets. Right? So what we did for Leucine is a 6-month follow-up sequence with sales assets. So this is going to be Loom videos, personalized pitch decks, and PDFs. Okay, so after a prospect is closed lost, it is vital to accumulate all of the data from the sales call, from their initial responses and cold emails, all these things, like their bottlenecks, their desires, why they didn't close. And you're going to use all of this as ammo for actually closing them and getting them on another call. So from here, once we've gathered all of this data, you're going to create a set of post-sales call assets with this information included, right? So like I said, these assets are going to be in a form of PDFs, videos, and pitch decks, right? So in these sales assets, we are going to make it super, super tailored to each prospect. Now, a lot of people are very lazy, especially with AI and everything. You can be like, you spin up a quick cold email, quick pitch deck, whatever it might be. But that is probably the worst possible thing you can do right here, because our leverage right now is the personalization. It's the info that we already have about the prospect. So we're going to use all of this, we're going to accumulate it, gather it all up, and then distribute it across different sales assets, right? And you're going to need to make a set of them. You're not just going to make one sales asset and pray to God or whoever you believe in that they're going to convert and they're going to watch it, right? You need different forms. Some people like to watch videos. Some people like to consume more written stuff. Some people like to talk to somebody on the phone, right? So you're going to need to create several different versions. And then what we're going to do in these sales assets, right? Address the objections that they brought up on the initial call, but you're not just going to be like, oh, I know you mentioned this. You're going to have specific, unique selling points that overcome these objections. So if price was an objection, you're going to mention something about price probably, right? Sounds like a smart idea. But all of it is so simple. But so many people, one, either just underestimate the power of just following up and creating personalized assets for prospects, or two, they just don't want to put in the work. And a lot of it's tedious. It's the same conversations over and over again. But that is where you stand out as an agency. That's where you stand out with whatever offer you're selling. And I promise you this works. It worked for Leucine, which was selling in a very, very competitive market, right? Fortune 500 companies don't make impulsive decisions, right? You can't Jedi trick them into buying your offer. You can't use emotional selling, really. They're very, very tailored veterans in the industry who are going to buy based on fact and logic and all these things. If it's going to work for a company selling to Fortune 500, I can almost guarantee you that it's going to work for somebody buying an agency offer or somebody buying a consulting program, especially B2C, right? So let me keep going here. Where are we? All right, next, you're going to bring up relevant case studies relating to the business, okay? So if you had a call with an e-commerce brand, you're going to want to show them good work you did with a similar e-commerce brand. You're not going to want to show some oil and gas or a SaaS company, because frankly, they just don't care about any other case study. They don't care about most case studies anyways. Really, all they want to see is how you can make more money for them, or whatever offer you're selling, how you can save time for them, how you can eliminate these tasks, whatever it might be, right? But they want to see things that are hyper relevant to them, because then they can imagine, all right, this company invested this much money with this offer and it brought them from here to here, and that's my desired state, right? All of this is very calculated and very intentional. If they really mention on the sales call, look, man, like I'm really struggling with this, I want to get this fixed. Look, your offer sounds really good. I don't think I want to move forward right now. Whatever it might be, whatever, great excuse they have for not buying your offer. But they already revealed what they want. You're just going to keep hounding that into them, right? Because some prospects might already have a solution, in which case you don't have to keep hitting them up. But a lot of prospects still have that solution. And so many companies just don't want to spend money, or they're too lazy to implement new things, because a lot of companies are stuck in the older days, right? And then finally, we're going to consistently send these assets to prospects every 2 to 3 weeks via email and SMS. And on top of that, having check-ins with them, calling them, figuring out where they're at right now, sending relevant things to them, right? It's all about relevancy. That's so much of it is that. And a lot of people talk about personalization in cold email or all these things like that. And it's not about personalization so much with the prospect. It's personalization and relevance relating to their issues, right? You're going to personalize it based on what they need. So if you had a sales call with them and they mentioned that, let's say you're sending you're selling a cold email software, right? And they're not mentioning much about, wanting more positive reply rates. They're mainly mentioning the fact that they're scared of emails bouncing. That's a worry for a lot of brand owners right now, or a lot of offer owners, I should say, right? They're worried that emails are bouncing. And that's the thing that'll keep them up at night, because if emails aren't going through, that's one channel that they can't use. And a lot of companies today use cold email to get more clients. If their emails are bouncing, they aren't going through, that's a worry for them, right? So that's what you're going to talk about. You're not going to talk about, we'll boost your positive reply rate by 20%, because they don't care about positive reply rate. Otherwise, they would have mentioned it. But 2, they wouldn't be looking at your offer, right? So again, I talked about this briefly earlier, but I want to say it again, because it's so important, okay? You cannot do a one-size-fits-all approach for these leads. Like, our leverage here in this strategy, and you will see this if you implement it, is that the point of these assets is to be very, very relevant for the prospect, right? So assuming you ran a good sales process and a good sales call, they already gave you so much information. They already gave you all the ammo that you need. So the ammo's right there. You have a phone in your hand, I'm going to assume. You have a CRM. You have access to them. Why aren't you reaching out to them consistently, right? Because there's genuinely like a hidden treasure chest, basically, in your CRM with prospects who aren't cold leads. They had interest in your offer. You know why they didn't close. You know what they want. Why aren't you going to have conversations with them, right? It's going to take a year or 2 for some prospects to follow up with them, but each month there's going to be a new group of prospects who went from initially not being ready to buy to now being ready to buy. So if you are not occupying as much mental bandwidth as possible for these prospects, then you're screwing yourself over. You're literally shooting yourself in the foot, taking a loaded gun, a loaded M16, and shooting it in your foot. Because these prospects, it's not going to be all of them, right? It might only be 2 or 3% of your total group of prospects who went from not interested to interested. But there's going to be some, and you want to talk to them every single month, and you want to speak to them very personally with what they're with what they're struggling on, what they're putting energy into to fix, because opportunities are going to open up. And then you have a good conversation with them, book a sales call. You already know what they want, what they objected on in your business. You can handle that very easily, okay? And on top of it, this sales asset strategy, it gives you the ability to meet every single prospect at their sophistication and awareness level, which is so vital in turning these cold leads into recurring revenue, right? Because again, that's our point of leverage here. If you're sending the same like spray and pray outreach to these people, then maybe it'll resonate with 10, 20% of them, but it's not going to resonate with everybody, because you're using the same language for all of them. Every prospect's awareness level is going to differ. Every prospect's sophistication level is going to differ, right? So that's our point of leverage, is just using personalization and being very specific and very intentional with the words that we're saying and the things that we're showing them, right? Next, feedback campaigns. This is so important, okay? Getting data from your CRM and conducting feedback campaigns. Let's go over this. Like I said, it's super important, because doing good feedback campaigns and gathering relevant data is directly proportional to the amount of new revenue that you will close. I'm going to say it again. The better you do at feedback campaigns, the more future deals you will close. All of the data Every single data point you need to close more leads is one, in your CRM, and two, found by speaking with prospects and having conversations. And this kind of goes over what I was saying earlier of keeping your ears to the ground on the market and figuring out what new offers are going into place, what new guarantees, what new pain points prospects are facing. But the reason why one prospect did not close is more often than not going to be why other prospects in the past and in the future are not going to close, right? Especially within that same customer segment. So to conduct successful feedback campaigns, you're going to want to gather data on calls made by setters, right? So the once the prospect doesn't initially close and you're following up with them, figuring out why they didn't initially close, right? Because even if you're not going to get a sales call from somebody who didn't initially close again, even if they're not going to re-engage, this info is going to be so vital in tweaking your cold email copy and ad copy and VSLs, right? And like I said, the markets are always sophisticating. What worked 3 months ago isn't going to work today. What's working now probably won't work 3 months from now. It's all about finding what people are buying today and tweaking your offer to match that. Relevancy. Again, it's so important. I feel like a broken record half the time saying this stuff, but it's just so painfully simple. But so many businesses want to take the easy way out and do all this cute stuff like this. Oh, like we're going to change the logo of our website, all this stuff. Like that doesn't matter. What matters is getting your offer, getting eyeballs in front of your offer, and getting feedback from why people aren't closing, right? Let's say a lot of law firms aren't closing, right? I have an example somewhere here. Yeah, let's say real estate agents are closing at 70%, but only law firms are only closing at 30%. That means, and you're running the same sales process, that means something with what you're saying to law firms isn't resonating. Okay? Maybe you used to close very well in law firms, but now you're not. Probably means that the needs of law firms is changing. And a lot of time it's so simple, right? I say it right here. If your prospects in your target market go from caring more about high positive reply rates, there we go, to worrying more about emails bouncing, your copy and angles used on ads is going to have to tweak because you're going to want to make sure that what you're saying is resonating with prospects. It's resonating with their deep desires, the things that get them worried about their business. And a lot of the time it's so minor. You see, like these things are kind of related. A high positive reply rate is often correlated with good email deliverability. But what the prospects are really worried about is I need my emails to land in inbox, right? I don't want them to bounce. I don't want them to go to spam. Otherwise I'm hosed. So you're going to talk about that. You're going to talk about their pain points. And often it's very small, but it's intentional, right? So you're going to get all of this data by one, going in your CRM and figuring out why certain customer segments aren't closing. And two, talking to them, having real in-person conversations as much as people wish you could just, write some stuff on a Google Doc and sell. That's not really how it works, right? You have to have conversations with them. That's where your most valuable feedback is going to be. And it's not going to be delayed. It's not going to be a YouTube video from 2 months ago saying, here's what people are buying right now, right? It's going to be a real life conversation with one human to another prospects saying, look, man, like I'm really struggling with this. You do 100 other calls like that and you find out that 40% of the people that you're talking to are having that one issue. I'm not a genius. I'm no Einstein, but it seems pretty intelligent, right? If that's where you're at, your point of leverage is, all right, it seems like a lot of people are having this issue. So we're going to tweak our offer a little bit. You don't have to change what you're selling. You just tweak the way in which you explain what you're selling. You tweak your cold emails a little bit. You tweak your ads, all these things to resonate with what people want right now. A month later, it seems like it's changing a little bit. Then you tweak your stuff again. You cannot be comfortable in business, no matter what you're selling. I don't care if you're selling like dolls for children or if you're selling $100,000 per year software license. The needs of people change and they evolve and the market's sophisticated. And you need a very tight feedback loop. And the only way you can have a good feedback loop is by talking to people every single day, getting data on why people aren't closing. It's as simple as that. It's just a numbers game. It really is just a numbers game. So yeah, those are the 3 things we implemented. Next, I want to briefly show you the playbook that we implemented for Leucine and how you can apply this to your own offer. Okay. So first step, pretty obvious. Sales call with prospect is held. It's a lost lead. They don't close. Next step, and these are all the things I covered, but in a little bit more like a timeline type manner, right? You're going to do a deep dive into the prospect's objections, their desires, and their bottlenecks for every single prospect, right? You're going to update this in your CRM. If you have this in your CRM, it's really easy to get access to this when you're big. All right, it looks like Jeremy didn't close because he was not too sure about the implementation of our offer, whatever it might be, right? Obviously make believe, but something like that, right? But it also turns out that Jeremy was really struggling with X, Y, and Z. So those are the main things that you're going to be able to create tailored sales assets, right? Creating PDFs based around this, creating a case study that shows exactly how we helped another similar firm, similar to Jeremy's company, take care of this issue because he was worried about it. Jeremy was like, "Oh, I don't think this is going to work." Right? Just do a relevant case study. Again, it's all about relevancy, and just show that you care about the prospects. Right? Show that you put the time of day into it. You're going to close no revenue if you're just saying like, "Hey, Mark, I know we talked last week, but I just want to know if anything's changed." Like, I wish that worked. I really do. That'd be incredible, but it doesn't, right? You have to be relevant, especially now when so many people are just peppering people with cold emails, cold calls, all these things. You need to do the extra mile. It's a pattern interrupt. It's going to make your offer stand out. So you actually need to do it, right? You need to do a little bit of work here, but I promise you it is worth it. It has worked for ourselves, for our clients. Leucine is just one example, but it has worked, okay? And you need to implement it. And if you don't want to implement it, we'll do it for you. That's what we do best. That's what we do best, is implementing these same sales playbooks and processes, injecting them into your business, getting our trained team of people who know how to do it, and closing some revenue. Okay, I'm going to finish this off. It's just the same thing, right? From the conversations, from the calls, the texts, all these things, the feedback, right? Keeping that feedback loop tight. You can gather data on why certain customer groups aren't closing, and then change your stuff to make sure that they actually close. Because nobody's going to pass up on free money. But I promise you, like this isn't a joke. Like genuinely, it is. It's just the time. It's just reps. It's volume, and it's taking the time out of your day, even if it's just an hour or two, to get in contact with people who didn't initially close, and making some money off them. And if not, getting feedback on why they didn't close. And if somebody didn't close for a certain reason, there's a good chance other people aren't going to close for that reason. So you're going to want to evaluate the strategies that you're using and make a little bit of tweaks. It's just a numbers game, though. Again, if you don't want to do all this stuff, we do it for you. This is just on the post-call side. We do pre-call stuff as well. But our team calls all your dead leads. We make personalized sales assets, do feedback campaigns, but more importantly, we bring revenue to your business. So hope you appreciated this video. As always, my email is open. Call me, text me if you have any questions, but hope you appreciated this. And cheers, guys.